everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Vendo Velocity. We're so glad that you decided to join us today. I'm your host, Delaney Del Mundo, and we're happy to have you back on the podcast. If this is your first time joining us here, then welcome. We are a bi-weekly podcast that goes live every other Tuesday and talk about the latest and greatest tools and strategy updates across Amazon, Walmart, TikTok Shop, retail media, paid search and social, all things in the omni-channel world. We are covering it. And we've gone through a little bit of a brand shift recently. So you'll see that underneath my name here, we are now Platform. So this podcast will eventually be rebranded, but it's an exciting change and update for our organization as a whole. But with all that being said, I would love to introduce our guest today, who has built one of the most powerful intelligence tools in the Amazon ecosystem. And as the CEO and founder of SmartScout, he's given thousands of brands the ability to see the marketplace the way it actually is, not just a small sliver of it. So we at Platform are powered by SmartScout. We use it for every brand that we launch and scale in the Amazon world. And before SmartScout, Scott actually ran BuyBoxer, which was one of the largest Amazon sellers in the US, which means that everything that he has built is grounded in real-time data, solving pain points for sellers like all of you who want to compete and win on the platform. So, Scott, I'm so happy to have you here today, and thank you for joining me on the podcast.
Hey, thank you. You've done your research a little bit, but yeah, that's my past. I do think that what we built at SmartScout was heavily influenced by the 7 years where I was just an Amazon seller. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly how I want to start off today, Scott, because most founders like yourselves build tools to solve their own personal pain points or their business pain points. So what specifically broke for you on Amazon that made you realize that this level of data was the real problem, not just the tactics itself?
Yeah. I mean, actually, I don't know if it was anything that broke on Amazon. It broke on our maybe go-to-market approach where we would sell, we would try and build some brand direct relationships. And I think we would spend, hours and hours and hours to convince a brand to work with us. This is a former life. I don't really do this too much. I think to build a good tool, like you said, to scratch your own edge, you kind of have to burn the boats and focus on it to make it as good as you can. So still in the process of making it better. But the problem was we'd spend hours. I specifically remember one relationship where I for the first time jumped into a relationship. And then when you get on the other side, you're like, oh, we're talking about I don't know, $200,000 a year in revenue. This was not worth my time. And so I wanted to be able to research kind of just the whole body of Amazon brands and just swim in the right lanes. Where's the opportunity, and have that bird's eye view of seeing emerging categories or emerging brands and who's winning and losing. And so that as either an agency or a service, if you want to work with brands, you start with here's the 20 that will move the needle for us. Absolutely. Not the 1,000 that won't, which is kind of the case, as I think we're tracking about 400,000 brands on Amazon. Oh. And the top 1% are the whales. They're the great ones to work with. So that was kind of it. It was just a research itch that we had.
Awesome. I'm curious, a lot of the brands and even agencies that you're working with, what are you seeing as a common pain point? Are they using a bunch of different tools that they can't completely consolidate the data into one hub, which is why you present them to SmartScout? Or what are they actually maybe blind to that you are able to open their eyes about?
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to tell a quick story on this.
All right.
So before I met who became my father-in-law, he was curious. He's like, what are you doing on this And I think I had to explain 3 or 4 times, it's oh, we work with brands and we sell them on Amazon. And it just never clicked. And Because he's not an e-commerce person, he's not an Amazon person. But like one day I just started like, we actually got a little bit closer to like, you know, me joining the family. We started to talk about like revenue, competition, market share, and all of a sudden, like he's a business guy. Like it just like made sense to him. He's like, oh, I get it. Okay, and I think actually one of like the values of SmartScout isn't just for the Amazon, crowd that are leaning in. It's so that they can communicate with the non-Amazon people. So take, for example, like, I've got Rip Van right here. It's like a chocolate candy. And there are people inside of that organization that have no idea, actually like leaders, that they have no idea, are we winning or losing on Amazon?
Yeah.
Like, are we capturing the opportunity? Should we be investing more? Or like, have we like nailed it? Mm-hmm. And so just for them to be able to answer that question, I think agencies or even like brands that want to build out like reports for their higher ups to ask for more budget, it's kind of like good, easy to understand, data that like helps them in other conversations. It's kind of weird, but it's kind of like with my father-in-law. You bring the right like perspective and like, oh, I get it. Like, we're second in this market, in this chocolate candy market. We're third, we're 10th, we're 15th. And what does it mean to move up? It's that helps people understand like, okay, Amazon is a market that you can win, because it's like, a lot of people are just kind of flying blind.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that note, similarly, one thing that we're using it for is a lot of our merchant conversations at retail, which has been a huge unlock because when we look at platform as a whole, of course, digital is a big part of it, but also we manage brands across Walmart, Costco, Target, etc. And these merchants are looking to Amazon data to understand the market as well. So we know we have the IRI data, we have the Circana data, but now we also have consolidated market share data that allows us to see, okay, maybe at retail, some of these brands are winning or losing, but on Amazon, there's actually a different trend. To your point, why? Right? And we can dive in and dissect that.
I guess from a retail's perspective, this is actually kind of funny. It's like from retail's perspective, like Amazon is a more dynamic and competitive marketplace. Like things just move a little bit faster. I mean, I think I can name a handful of brands that have like literally gone from 0 to 10 million in 3 months.
Yeah.
And whereas, and so if they want to see where the puck is moving, it's like, okay, we can see this and they can kind of make an educated decision. Like, would that fit in our retail store or not?
Right.
But at least they know, like kind of gets rid of that FOMO, which is actually like something powerful to get rid of. Like when people like, they're like, what's out there? Are we missing? And then you're like, no, we're not. For them to answer that, like we're not missing an opportunity. Like we dialed in on our strategy. Just helps people focus.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. And I think another benefit is really being proactive about your business, to your point, rather than reactive. A lot of the times through SmartScout data, we're even able to plan for new product launches because we know entrance in a specific market where it would make sense based on how that market is positioned right now. So Scott, you have access to so much data. Tell me a little bit about what are some shifts that you're seeing brands be able to make based on the data and which tools directly within SmartScout are unlocking that incremental growth because they weren't looking at that before, but now they have an understanding of it.
So I just heard this from our account manager this week. One of our top supplement brands, there's maybe like 600 supplement categories. Yeah. So it's pretty big. When they look at a new one, they're wondering like, okay, is this an opportunity or not? And one thing that kind of tells them it's an opportunity if everyone's kind of new. They're like, hey, no one's really just like, has a 10-year relationship with customers.
Yeah.
It's kind of ripe. Whereas if they see a category and they see a lot of like, okay, this category has 3 legacy brands at the top, that kind of like gives them a signal of like, okay, maybe we should like hit pause on this one.
Mm-hmm.
So while like some categories, maybe 50 to 100 million on annual revenue, they want to see is like, what's a realistic chance of, is their prize that they could potentially win? Is it 1 million or is it 10 million? It's actually like a good decision to know up front.
Mm-hmm.
Before you invest. You're like, how big is this opportunity? So that was really interesting to hear, kind of like a power user think about it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. Identifying the difference between an opportunity and kind of a market trap, depending on how the category is positioned. Now, I know you had assumed we were going to talk about it, but of course, we have to talk a little bit about AI. And what we've really valued within the SmartScout tool is how you guys continue to really accelerate the builds between both AI and AEO. So talk to me about Rufus specifically and what the kind of impetus was behind you bringing in some of those AEO, GEO tools into SmartScout and how brands should be leveraging those as well.
Yeah. So I think 6 months ago, before this, this AEO was like agentic commerce, and no one knew exactly how it's going to play out. And still, no one today knows how agentic is going to play out. Was it ChatGPT had a quiet exit from their Walmart idea. But what is real today, though, is people searching on LLMs, ChatGPT, Rufus, about products. I did it. I bought a treadmill 2 weeks ago. And that was actually, a decision. When I'm buying it for my wife, I need to do my research. And so visibility inside of these LLMs, pretty important and relevant today at scale. So I wanted to kind of just track visibility. I think visibility is like really just been kind of a buzzword in brands if they want to improve more. So it's kind of like a precursor to market share is like visibility share. So think about it like that. And so built things that either track visibility or score your content if it's answering all the specific questions that your content should be answering. Some of it's basic, like who should be using this product. Is it for kids? Is it for athletes? This or that. If you're missing it, then maybe the consumers don't notice, but like the LLMs will.
Yep. Absolutely. No, that's a great point. And that's exactly what we're doing for every new brand that's coming in is we're running it through your tool and understanding, okay, are we answering the questions within the 15-point framework from both a textual standpoint and a visual standpoint? And that's what it comes down to. So it really makes clear the opportunities to further optimize your listings. And sometimes, again, as we know, people are just focusing on text, but the visual carries such a heavy weight within the algorithm, and especially within Rufus, you'll see Rufus answers directly populate from images.
That's actually one difference about Amazon is a lot of the web scraping that like ChatGPT and they just scrape text.
Yeah.
Amazon, when they look at their own marketplace, it's abundantly clear that yes, they're looking at the text. They're also looking and indexing and scoring on images. So telling a story and seeing something in action, just like everything, like just like good images that should be doing, carries weight in visibility. So Amazon is kind of like leading on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we just saw recently, I don't know how long ago you launched this, but your MCP as well went live. Talk a little bit, Scott, about how brands should be leveraging that.
So I didn't do that.
You didn't do that? Okay.
We've had now 2 independent developers build an MCP on top of our API. So API is just kind of like, just like passing on, data. But like the problem about an API is like you need an engineer to interface an API. An MCP kind of makes it so like if you are in Claude, you connect to an MCP, and then all of a sudden it's like a non-engineer can like just pull in data. So super exciting. I can't believe we waited this long. I mean, but then again, MCPs really like it came to fruition in just the last 6 months as it feels like the last like 5-6 months. If we're talking about with Claude, kind of feels like the previous 3 years of AI kind of, that what happened in 3 years has now happened in 6 months of like similar adoption. And so it's cool that non-tech people can build something as good as a developer team. So just being able to bring in the data at the right moment at the right time is kind of like what that MCP is about. I'm excited. We're going to continue investing in this and more ways to make any person the smartest person in the room.
Absolutely. I'm curious, what other areas do you feel there's a need to invest into, especially from a seller standpoint, right?
Yeah.
One thing on the SmartScout side, but also from a seller standpoint. In the next 18 to 24 months, like you said, a lot has moved even in 6 months. Where is Amazon going, and where are brands most underprepared where they should start investing now?
Well, if we're talking like pure, brands, they need to just find profitable ways to get new customers.
Yeah.
And first 2 thoughts on that is like, okay, there's like the ads that you just like show up with. If you're on Amazon, you're like, okay, sponsored products, nailed it.
Yeah.
As did everyone else. Mm-hmm. The brands that are like creatively targeting using the DSP or sponsored display and like really looking at audiences, that's one way for them to get new to brand in a way that like can work. Now, I am not an expert on that. I just know that like there's like the table stakes of showing up, and then there's like what the large brands, so like the DSP, but then outside of that, like it's kind of hard this day and age to go too long without bringing in TikTok Shop as a growth driver. And I'll say one little tidbit on this is one brand was that I was working with was willing to lose $500,000 a month on TikTok Shop because they knew their next conversation with Walmart's retail division was going to go really well.
Yeah.
So, there is something in the water there about turning up brand awareness that either actively or passively influences decisions.
Yeah.
So let's say you're walking down the protein bar aisle of Walmart. Well, if a brand is like, you've seen 3 or 4 TikToks about a chocolate bar brand, they're going to kind of pop off the shelf to you. Not that like you probably already had a chance to buy, but now you've got your shopping cart, you're ready. And like, so like this like halo effect is a little bit more impactful than it's possible to measure.
Yep.
It's not possible to measure TikTok to retail in a 1-to-1 thing, but like it's so correlated. So, man, it feels like I do think when it comes to like social commerce, we are in an early stage, and the next 10 years, like we're going to look back at like right now and be like, oh man, I wish I knew what I knew now.
Exactly.
In 2026.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And you're 100% correct, especially for brands that we're running across both Amazon and TikTok Shop. With TikTok Shop traction, we're seeing between 5 to 10x increase in branded demand only on Amazon. And
Yeah.
now retail conversations are centered around TikTok Shop traction. Merchants are willing to bring on brands that have had traction on TikTok Shop and
Yeah.
nowhere else. Like it is.
I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
Is this, is this effect from TikTok Shop, like, is this happening anywhere else? Like Instagram has been around longer, maybe even has a larger global audience. But it doesn't feel like it's got this like groundswell in the same way that TikTok Shop does. Sure, there's like the $100,000 brand deals, but the TikTok Shop allows like the $50 brand deals to like make sense.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think Meta has finally started to open their eyes a bit, as everyone probably saw a month ago or so. Instagram is now really expanding their creator commission structure and allowing direct connection for creators to be paid directly, like TikTok Shop is with the buy now button. So they're opening their eyes for sure. We're looking at how we can build that out internally too. But YouTube, I think, has grown a lot. Like 2 years ago, YouTube creators were pretty much non-existent. They're really trying to build that platform out. So I think everyone's going to innovate.
One limitation is, as big as TikTok Shop is, I think a third of my friends regularly use TikTok. 2/3 don't. And I'm like, okay, how do you reach, a little bit different of an audience? This is like not about me. I don't really use TikTok, but I do use YouTube. That's kind of like my thing.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's a different demographic that we're seeing across TikTok and YouTube for sure. I'm curious, Scott, because you mentioned something that was really impactful there, which was, of course, the TikTok effect, but just external traffic in general, right? And we know the power of that. That's never changed, even over the last 10 years, about what that halo impact is of driving any external traffic back to Amazon. Tell me a little bit about, because we're doing a lot of research, of course, looking granularly at ad spy data and really trying to understand, okay, how aggressive are specific brands spending to hold top of category share? But one thing that we're really trying to bring in is externally, there's a lot that's maybe missing from this picture because maybe they're not one of the top spenders in the category, but externally, there's a lot of brand awareness that they're building. Of course, we could look at demand trends and better understand if they're seeing more significant increases there. But there's other tools as well that are specifically dedicated to external traffic. Is that something that you plan to eventually bring into SmartScout or?
Oh, I'd love to. Right now, actually, like we are working on a TikTok Shop data set. Like,
awesome.
That is excited to do that. Kind of put like a little bit of our lens into it.
Yeah.
So it'll feel a little unique, but I mean, as I'm doing that, I'm like, I know there's a little bit more out there, and like, I'm not joking. Last weekend, I kind of did a deep dive of like, okay, what data tools are out there? What data tools like sell this data or like kind of like the, almost like just like building like the blocks of what would be this. There's a lot of like novel solutions out there. I think I came across one. I wish I knew the name. I would totally name drop them. Where they are basically looking at every single video on social media and kind of like understanding brand mentions at scale.
Right.
I think 90% coverage. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not ready to take on that, but I'm like, there is lots of things worth measuring, and they're going to come to light. Yeah. And I mean, I hope I'm an early adopter, but I think it's exciting. I mean, it's kind of like the space I've been in for years, and so now I'm like super excited to see how this kind of evolves. And and back to my other point, like when we look back in 10 years, when like we're like, oh, like now we have all this data. We didn't have it 10 years ago. Oh my goodness, I wish I knew.
Exactly. No, 100%. So let's just end on this. If someone is now convinced that they should get a SmartScout account, but they log into the tool and they have no idea where to start because there's a plethora of data there, give me a bit of a roadmap and say, hey, you're in the tool. Where do I start researching?
Okay. I mean, it can depend like who you are. We have like a search trends tool, easy place just to get lost just for fun. Just type in like, I mean, like right now it's Mother's Day. You'll see the types of things that people are searching on Mother's Day. And if you want to like see some of those micro trends, like, okay, everyone knows creatine is surging, but like, there's like sub interests inside of creatine. So kind of seeing that is one way. And then I kind of like, just seeing market share inside of a category. So our subcategories tool kind of builds out every, the 40,000 subcategories of Amazon. And then just click into one and be like, oh, is this a $10 million category, or is this a $1 billion category? And then when you see the winners and losers inside of those categories, it kind of like, I feel like for the first time, you're like, oh, I think I understand Amazon a little bit more now that you see it organized. And there'll be some surprises, but that's probably what I would do. If you're a small brand, mid-sized brand, large brand, I kind of all want to see that perspective.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the time today, Scott. This was incredibly informative and strategic, so I appreciate it. Where can somebody find you if they wanted to reach out?
I mean, I'm fairly active on LinkedIn. I do write a newsletter, just like through like the SmartScout list, like where I like write it. It's irregular. It's kind of like in my own words. My brother always tells me about all the time that I like misspell things, and I'm like, I don't care. Like,
oh no,
I care more about like taking the 10 news items down to like the 1 or 2 that actually like, here's what you should know about. Here's how I think about it. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast.
Thank
and we'll
you.
see everyone in 2 weeks back on VENDO Velocity. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.